Hi, this is Dan Pertu, and for my latest Muse and Music blog, I am so excited to be interviewing John Jetter, music director of the Fort Smith Symphony in Arkansas. John Jetter is presently in his 24th season as the music director and conductor of the Fort Smith Symphony. In 2002, John and the orchestra were recognized by the League of American Orchestras for their outstanding work, with John being the recipient of the League's Helen M. Thompson Award in recognition of outstanding artistic leadership. The music director and orchestra have been acknowledged with the Mayor's Achievement Award presented by the City of Fort Smith and the Mayor's Civic Center Award for the Performing Arts. Mr. Jenner is the recipient of the 2012 Governor's Arts Award Individual Artist Award. We talk about his recommended listening list during quarantine, which I have listed below in the text, and how the Fort Smith Symphony has been able to put on live concerts safely in the past few months, despite the issues with the coronavirus. I hope you enjoy. I'm really happy to be talking today with John Jetter, my most recent guest on the Muse and Music blog. And what I've been doing for a number of our recent blog posts, of course, is listening lists for the pandemic time, because we obviously have a lot of time now. We're stuck at home, and I know people could really use sort of a pick-me-up in terms of listening and have their minds sort of open to new ideas. And so I'm seeking input from prominent people in the field. And so, John, it's good to be with you this morning. And I would love to jump right in and hear what your picks are for recommended listening during quarantine.
Well, thanks for the visit, the virtual visit. And yeah, it's an interesting time, isn't it? And I know we'll probably go in a lot of different directions. I would first just preface things by, yeah, we're spending a lot of time on our own, and it's a time possibly to think about music in some different ways. I do, though, would encourage. I still think that there are ways to perform music now. We shouldn't totally give up, and maybe later we can talk about how that's been done, and some of my experiences, current experiences, actually given 4 live performances since November.
Oh, that's yeah.
So I like the listening idea, but just not at the. It's still possible. At least depending on your situation, it's possible to still do these. And I understand, like, the orchestras are different and people are in different situations, different parts of the country, different parts of the world. It can vary. Right. So as far as listening goes, it's funny. I know this is this is a classical music kind of sort of, for lack of a better term, that term is even a little not appropriate anymore, right? Classical music, concert music, art music. But for listening, I think a big part of it now is I think people need to listen to what they like. I think we're in a situation, perhaps accelerated a little bit due to COVID, that we're looking at music as a wellness tool, which is kind of what we're talking about a little bit with these lists. And I'm starting to have a lot of very specific experience on this. I've been involved with Mercy Hospital on some trying to include music as a wellness tool. And it's really funny, when we talked about getting together, I didn't even think about the fact that my orchestra is actually, we're actually moving to a large health and wellness holistic research center here in Fort Smith, Arkansas in the summer. Our offices are actually moving there. And we have a growing large partnership. It's with the Arkansas Colleges of Health Education.
Yeah.
So it's a real interesting new approach, or I should say continual approach, to music as a way to really help people. Maybe, I don't know, 30 years ago or so, we went through this period of time where music and art was, it's I think, under assault politically.
Yeah.
And you saw much less music in a lot of the schools, particularly in America. Funding for the arts sort of came into question. So, interestingly, at least this is my view, it was a good thing because I think the arts had to prove themselves. We needed more specific information than the stuff that we all knew as artists, right? Of course it's great. Of course you have to have art and culture, of course. Well, there started to be a lot more research done on the medical sides of music and how it interacts with the brain. An incredible amount of work has been done on the financial power that the arts have in communities. Okay. So we ended up, I think now we have this, the arts now has a lot more, we have a lot more teeth in what we do in many ways, besides just the art part that we always used to talk about before. So, with that in mind, sort of going back to the current situation with music and all that, I think you asked me about a playlist like 30 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, no, but this is a wonderful background that, and a perspective that a lot of listeners haven't necessarily considered, especially from the perspective of a music director of an orchestra. So thank you.
So, so going back to music and wellness, which I think is certainly germane for what's going on right now. One of my many requests from Mercy Hospital was to come up with a playlist. Now, this is more of a generic playlist for people who don't necessarily listen to classical music exclusively.
Right.
And it was within the context of people, I think, sort of a calming aspect of music.
Yep.
So I had things down, sacrilegious things like Beethoven's Symphony No. 6, just the second movement. Just the second movement. And I thought for people, I thought that Jay Unger's Ashokan Farewell is a beautiful piece. We've performed it many times. That was the soundtrack to Ken Burns' Civil War series. And we've performed it many times, and people just love it. It's a very beautiful tune. It kind of tugs at your heartstrings. I've got some of the Bach cello suites, specific movements, which I thought were terrific. Some of the slow movements of Mozart, some of the Mozart piano concertos, like number 21, I thought was a spectacular piece. I feel very fortunate to have had wonderful artistic experiences. Some of my most enjoyable experiences have been performing film music. I'm a huge film music fan. I think we can get into that subject for another day. I think it's just as valid concert repertoire as anything. In fact, I would argue that in some cases, if you think about how contemporary society interacts with the orchestra, right, the most common way is through film, right? Film scores. So, so some classic things like John Barry's music from Out of Africa. I love that. Lush. I love the Fantasy on Green Sleeves by Ralph Vaughan Williams. Beautiful, lush piece. I think not totally, but my list is including of the classical works, things that aren't terribly complex. Like there's no Mahler on the list. I don't think it's Mahler time, It may be Miller time, but it's not Mahler time. Oh, that's terrible. But I think, I just think that, and some people could disagree, but I know in doing concerts and talking with audience members, there seems to be right now people wanting release, maybe things a little lighter right now. And it could just be my experience. And someone else might say, oh no, I need, this is a time for introspection and I need my Schoenberg and, whatever. So whatever, but not now, not for me. a beautiful score is Elmer Bernstein's To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, the opening music is just, it's some of the best. If I think about the film and I think about the music, it's one of the best matchups of all time. Just beautiful, beautiful music. And it's about that, childlike view of life right now. So that was on my list. Actually, I guess something more interesting is the Adagio from the Eagle for String Orchestra by Janacek. I'm kind of a Janacek fan. One of my favorites. One of my more enjoyable, just fun experiences has been conducting the Sinfonietta of his. It's just such an awesome piece.
Sure.
I even have some James Horner in there from the Titanic, because I thought that was very recognizable to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. The Adagio to Mozart's Clarinet Concerto, everyone loves that piece. That almost has a pop music status.
Yeah.
I also, something like a piece like Time from the film Inception by Hans Zimmer, it's so meditative and repetitive in a good way. It kind of lulls you into this sense of relaxation. I think it's just fantastic. And I picked that piece because it has that hypnotic feel, but it also has kind of a modern urban feel to it. Mm-hmm. So if you're living in a big city, that's a great thing to listen to sort of lull you into some relaxation. And then I'm not gonna list, I did list some of the YouTube links for some of those, 27 hours of relaxing music things. Some of them I think are quite good, actually. And really, if they calm you down, if the desired effect happens, it doesn't matter if it's Schumann or, an easy listening or a meditative listening composer. I think it's, I think in this situation right now, the result is what we need,
So this is a really interesting list. So this, if I understand correctly, came out of your work with the hospital. Is that right? This is
yes.
Okay, wonderful. And so obviously it's a list for comfort. It's a list for perhaps introspection, but in a maybe more in a positive, meditative way, as opposed to, as you're saying, now really might not be the time for Mahler. Although, you never know. So different people have different emotional.
Yeah, I'm not, well, and part of that too is, I'm one of the few conductors who are like, Mahler's, he's still, he's okay. I think, because it's the subject for another day. Yeah. There's I'm in the there's so much other music thing, maybe perform Mahler once instead of 47 times, But anyway, that's getting off the track. Maybe that's tinging my list a little bit.
Sure. Well, and it's also interesting because when I've talked with some other people about this list, some have offered, music so now here's a time I can actually listen to music that is really challenging, and that's going to sort of change my perceptions even about music. So some of the other lists I've run into have been really just, some of the pieces have been even avant-garde, and which I think is, it's an interesting perspective. Sure. And I was curious what your thought is on that. I'm not saying any of this is right or wrong, but you come from more a comfort perspective. So
yeah, well, I guess this list, I'll answer your question the best I can. For me, this list was designed for other people. It wasn't designed for, your average listener is not gonna, if you give them an avant-garde piece, hey, listen to this, or listen to whatever, listen to some John Cage or, whoever. It's not gonna work for them. It's just nuts. And I love contemporary music. We do a lot of it. And not, I mean, I know Cage isn't really contemporary, but I love all that. But my list is maybe more general public-ish.
Yeah.
I personally, as doing what I do, I guess I've been just personally so focused on, as far as music goes, maybe a practical aspect of trying to do the concerts. Full disclaimer, I'm also the executive director of my orchestra, so I'm also the administrative head of it. So, and in our household, we listen to a lot of music. So, my personal playlist has been Frank Sinatra,
Sure.
and we play a lot of jazz in our house. I mean, there's a lot of jazz music on. My wife really enjoys that. I guess the difference is when you have a chance to listen to maybe go dig deeper into music, I guess, you just have to decide if that's where you are intellectually, emotionally right now. That's just not something, there's so much to think about right now, at least in my case. And I know for a lot of folks who are involved in, like with the hospital, people, think about all those medical folks. This list was also designed for the staff
Sure.
at the hospital. Because, they're even under normal circumstances, it's a very stressful environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very different, and I think it's great. It's great that there's such a wide range of, people.
Yeah, and I remember talking with Mark Kossower in the Cleveland Orchestra, the principal cellist, and one of his themes, just to put a different spin on this, was the idea of triumph over adversity. So he chose pieces, and similar to some of the things in your list, I think, where you have sort of that kind of sense a little bit too. But I absolutely love your list because I'm thinking, oh yes, I want to listen to that right now. But no, one of the pieces he suggested was a Beethoven 7, because of course, it's so triumphant and beautiful, and okay, it has the funeral march in the middle, and maybe that could have some reflection on the current times, but at the end it's still A major, it's still bright, it's still sunny. And so there are some people, I think, who are also thinking of this as a time to really delve into the positive, uplifting music, and try to use that as a way to drag themselves out of the doldrums, so to speak, right?
We performed that last year. I guess, of course that's a good answer. Of course.
Yeah.
It's so, and of course we're in the situation right now where, of course, and I'm a conductor, and of course, but it's so, but the language is so old. We don't, Beethoven, that language is 200 years old, and it's so great. It's survived. We don't watch 200-year-old movies. We don't watch 80-year-old movies, right?
Sure.
So I think it's a good answer, but on the other hand, at least if you want to do something uplifting, I mean, what about Copland Third Symphony? At least it has sort of something to do with us.
Yeah.
And, and hey, I listed Mozart and all that. I get it, but that's that battle that I'm dealing with, that inner demon that I'm dealing with. It's just, making it really current and relevant. I guess basically, an orchestra should, I think in an ideal world, we're playing classics about about a third of the time. And then the rest of the time should be, new music and film music and jazz and all that sort of stuff. I see that kind of as the future of where we're going. And we try to do that. If you look at our programming, we're trying to do that. It's a little weird right now with COVID.
Well, right. So maybe it's a great time then to talk about how you're still doing. I'm really curious. You're talking about your programming and stuff, how you're still doing some live concerts. And we had just said it's not always, or you had just said it's not always possible given the circumstances and the geography and the laws of the different state. But somehow you were able actually to do some live concerts in the past few weeks, which is amazing. And I'm still a huge, believe me, if I could go to a live concert, I would. Yeah. So maybe share a little bit. How did you manage to be able to do that during this virus?
Yeah, well, of course there was the initial, what is this thing, you know. I mean, we gave our last concert of the last season in March, and then I went overseas for a music project. At that point, it was, you know, COVID was, it was somewhere else, right? It was overseas. I hope I could get it done and get back in time, and I didn't quite. I kind of, project got cut short. But after sort of a few months of just laying low and just, you know, wondering what the landscape was like, we took the tact that considering what we do as human beings, we always seem to be able to do just about anything. There's got to be a way to do this safely. So we started looking at all the research, and in our state, in Arkansas, any concert, any event that has more than 100 people is considered a large event, and it has to be approved by the Arkansas Department of Health. So we met with them, and they were in the process of course, having to come up with rules and regulations for everything, including any sort of theater or, you know, performance or anything like that. So there's a lot of back and forth with them, and we just knew that there would be a huge list of protocols. And we also saw that there were some European orchestras, you know, doing things. I think about the time that we decided to move forward really in earnest was, I think, the Vienna Philharmonic they were like the first orchestra in Europe maybe to do a concert or something like that. So we just knew everything would be very different, and the list of protocols were huge. I think one of the first things that we did is when we felt like we could do it, we reached out to all of our sponsors and supporters and said, hey, we're going to have a season. And what helped is our sponsors were hugely supportive, and virtually, except for one or two smaller sponsors who were businesses that were struggling a little bit, all of our sponsors renewed their, you know, concert sponsorships and season sponsorships. We had some people actually step up, which helped hugely. We also had pretty healthy subscription sales, which is interesting. We had a lot of people, but not as many season tickets as we normally sell. We normally get really close to selling out, actually, just on season tickets. It wasn't anything like that, but people were very encouraged that we were moving forward. So we basically looked at all the protocols, you know, the distancing of orchestra members, you know, the mask wearing, masks for the wind players, you know, with a little hole cut out.
Yep.
All of the distancing for audience members. And what we decided to do is our first concert was outdoors. There's, we have in Fort Smith, we have the U.S. Marshals Museum, which is the National Museum for the U.S. Marshal Service. It's physically, it's built, it's still in process of being completed with the exhibits and all that. But it's right next to the Arkansas River, and we did a really nice outdoor concert there. The idea was to get people to sort of do a dry run for indoor concerts, see how people feel going outside, see how the orchestra feels playing separated, especially outdoors. I mean, not only are you 6 feet apart, but you're not only are you really spread out, but you're outside. There's no acoustic, you know?
Yeah.
So we did those performances, and those turned out really well. We, you know, the concerts are shorter. There's two performances of a concert program. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we had it set up, and then on first weekend in December, we did our indoor holiday concerts, and again, very heavily protocoled. And one of the things for us, we perform at the ArcBest Corporation Performing Arts Center. ArcBest is a large company here in Fort Smith, and they're the sponsor of the concert hall. It's part of the Fort Smith Convention Center. So anyway, I went to them, and they had done some events where everything was set up with all the signage and, you know, the every other row in the concert halls taped off, all that sort of thing. So I asked them about airflow, because one of the things that was very important that didn't seem to be getting enough emphasis was on airflow. And you know, you go to places during COVID, even now, you go into a store or a restaurant, and at least my experience here is like all the windows are closed, the door is closed. You need, you know, fresh air is really sort of the key.
Yes.
So I asked them to calculate an airflow. Any idea what the air change rate per hour would be? And there's a way you calculate it. You get the manufacturer's rate of recommended rates for an air filter system, or for the blowers, the air conditioning, the fans. And to make a long story short, the air change rate per hour in the concert hall with everything on like maximum speed was really high. It was about 14. That means 14 complete changes of air per hour. That's like every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're like, really? Can you please redo those figures? And can you redo them again? Can you redo them again? So we then went down to the hall to see what it was going to be like, because obviously if all three blowers are blowing full blast, there's no way we're going to be able to play. Well, not that way at all. And our concert hall also has a very robust exhaust fan system. So what's happening is all fresh air is being shot into the hall, and it's being sucked out by these exhaust fans.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and you can still run it through a heating system. Yeah. When that is done, the return air ducts are closed, so there's no recirculated air. There may be little traces of it, because when those ducts close, it's not like hermetically sealed.
Right.
But we were just really, really lucky to have that option. And it was a design thing that really wasn't designed to do that. You'd never normally do that. Why would you ever have all your air units on full blast?
And that having them on didn't impede, though, with the sound, as you said, right?
No. And you could feel, actually on stage, you knew it because there's a curtain scrim up on the top, and you could see it kind of moving.
Yeah.
But it actually worked extremely well. We looked into some plexiglass shields, and we had someone locally make 20 of these shields. So I think we did. Oh, and we have a really beautiful orchestra shell. We didn't use it, so the orchestra could spread out. And the audiences weren't enormous. We had them all distanced, of course.
Okay.
So, knock on wood, if things continue like this for a while, we should be able to continue to do the concerts. Our next scheduled ones are in February, a classic, and then a Charlie Chaplin silent movie the next day.
And this is with the full orchestra, just not just strings. It's with the woodwinds.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's with an orchestra. Our orchestra is usually 85 to 90 players. It's pretty good size. This is with about 56 players.
Okay.
But the hall works really well. We and then the last concert of the holiday concerts, the second one, we also did a live stream option. So people, if they wanted to stay at home, and the live stream turned out really well.
Sure. Yeah. And I assume you would charge for that too, though, right?
Well, actually, we're doing it as an extension of your ticket. Oh. So if you have, and I mean, there's so many details, but with the social distancing limitations on how we could seat people, and with pretty robust season ticket sales, we basically, although it sounds funny, we basically sold out for the season. Okay. So we're basically taking care of our subscribers. We really can't offer any single tickets. So we kind of know who's seated where. Everyone is contacted about where they're sitting. Everyone has, signs a email form that understands they have to wear a mask and do all this stuff. It's just very complex year, but the staff has done a great job.
But, listening to this, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. He's making it work for real. And I really want to be able to put a lot of this out because, I have a lot of other conductors and orchestra musicians who read the blog. And who have been on the blog. And, I would love for them to hear your experience of how you're like this. You told us on how you're doing it successfully. And I recognize, different state regulations, it's different, but, and you have a combination of having a great performing arts center and all of these factors, but it's really inspiring to hear how some of this is possible and to keep live music going on in these really weird, awful times. Now, hopefully, with the vaccines coming, maybe we'll
Yeah.
we'll get out of this soon. But this is really, really inspiring.
It'll probably, of course, who knows? You know, we could, yeah, things could, hopefully things will change. Well, you know, we internally, we have our next season, 21-22. It's all schedule and repertoire and all that. And as of right now, we're sort of assuming that there's probably still going to be some things. Like maybe next season, we might have to sit 3 feet apart instead of 6 feet. Maybe we can have, who knows what's going to happen, and who knows about how the audience is going to feel about returning to concerts. So I felt like just where we are so far, I feel like it's about a 2 or 3 year process before things get back to some sense of normal. There's so many factors still.
Yeah.
We're thrilled to be where we are, but things could change. We know things could change at the drop of a hat. One thing I did want to mention, that's really important is we have a great board of directors and we have a great executive committee. Yeah. And we've been meeting, the members of the executive committee have been meeting with the staff every 2 weeks. And 2 of them, there's a physician and a head trauma nurse. And we also have another physician on our board. So as we've gone through this process, it's been fantastic. Here are the protocols. Here's what we want to do now. Please shoot these down. Please tell us why these don't work. If you have any worries, just tell us, and we will, we'll try to, let's see if we can fix it. And it's been hugely helpful. Because you sort of hope that you want someone, okay, hopefully this guy will say, yeah, okay, no. It's been really, really positive. And I think that's the way you have to do it, because we're talking about giving concerts. It's got to be done, as safe as possible. Sure. And, things like the plexiglass shields and the maybe the airflow. I think that something that we in classical music, we're not used to, is everything's about the performance, right? Everything's got to be just so. And no, safety's first. And right now, if you've got good musicians, it's about playing.
Right.
Those finer niceties of, in classical music, you never hear, just do the best you can. Right? I mean, it's okay.
No, definitely not. Well, and I remember I'm the chair of the School of Music here at Westminster too. So last summer I was working really hard to set it up so that our student ensembles could play and follow, doing similar things as what you're doing. Although we don't have audiences. So our students perform. They have been meeting live together, and they've been distanced, and it's been like that. So we've been doing a lot with streaming our concerts. But you're right, it's about keeping the safety first. And then they still have been able to pull off really good concerts despite all these wonky protocols that keep them apart and keep them separated and all this, and having conductors be farther away than you might ever have them be. And I am proud to say in our School of Music last fall, we had 0 transmission of the virus within, among the student body within the School of Music. Now, there was some on campus. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, the students in the music ensembles, we had none. So there are ways of doing it. And, I think that's a really positive thing to be able to talk about. And part of my video blog here is also about what's inspiring about music in the present. And previously, before the coronavirus, I talked about, what's inspiring about the new music scene. I'm a composer, but now it's also about what's inspiring about how are we making music, keeping music alive in adversity.
Yeah. And listen, I like everyone else, I would trade anything to go back to the way it was, right? Yeah. And there's nothing, having to work within COVID is terrible if people get sick, or if it means the demise of the symphony orchestra or whatever. I know all that, but I have to admit that as of today, it could change tomorrow, but as of today, I think there have been a number of positive things, actually. We don't, in the classical music world, we don't deal with, we deal with our really within the grand scheme of world events, what we deal with daily is, oh, my reed isn't quite right, or my strings are a little out of tune, or oh my gosh, the worst thing that can happen basically in our world is you can die of embarrassment. You do something and it doesn't sound good, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're put in a situation now where you can either try to do something or not. But if you try to do something, you really have to be so careful, and you have to be so cognizant of so many things outside of just your instrument or just your rehearsal or whatever. And I kind of hope that it changes things a little bit. I hope in the classical music world, we could maybe take ourselves a little less seriously coming out of this. And what we do is great, but especially, I'm going to say it, in a lot of the bigger cities, but really all over, there's a self-importance that can happen. And music and art is fabulous, and yes, it's super vital to our culture, but we're not in the ER, right?
Sure.
Sure. And I think that's real healthy. I think for me personally, that makes the whole thing more real.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping maybe that's something that as we go into the future, I sort of hope that things go back to normal, but maybe not our behavior. Hopefully we're a little bit more sensitive to things.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And then on top of that, your partnership with the health institutions too, and how you're able to sort of assist with certain therapeutic aspects. And that music therapy, of course, is actually a very vital and vibrant field. And while you yourself are not in the role of being a literal music therapist, but you're still providing these kinds of listening lists, the listening list that we talked about, as a form of enhancing self-care. And it's brought up another dimension, I think, of the usefulness of the arts at this. So I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I think as we move into the future, I think that and as we are dealing with newer audiences, younger audiences, every generation has a little different angle on what they want to experience in a concert. Within our world now, the idea of maybe the canon of music, we always thought was great, is now being revisited. I think that for concert music, classical music, I think the health aspect of it is going to become much more of a significant part of what we do. I mean, there have been orchestras that have been partnered on other health projects. And I just think as time goes by, it's going to become, I think it could become as big of a focus as, quote, just performing, just what we can do in terms of health and wellness. So I see it as actually a really big direction. And in our case, we have all sorts of projects that we've talked about, things we can do, having us in, especially working with medical students, this idea, there's so many similarities between really similarities between the arts and actually biology, and ways you can use one to illustrate the other. And we're going to be involved in a lot of studies actually of live music, and how it works with people, and we're pretty excited about it.
That's really exciting, and something I would love to talk about. Maybe we'll have to do another interview some other time. So, well, I really appreciate your taking the time to talk with me about this. And
Sure.
And so I look forward to talking with you again in the future, maybe, and exploring how some of these things have gone on. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you.